Hey guys, thank you again for joining us for the next exciting episode of Yoml. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. We are on Reflection 302 today, and today's book is Radical Candor. And we alluded to yesterday should be, in an interesting, concept to mull over.
Yeah, no, it'll be a really, I think this will be a fun one. So let's get started. So if you don't know what Radical Candor is, it's a book called Radical Candor: Be a Kick-Ass Boss Without Losing Your Humanity by the author Kim Scott. And here I'll just give you a quick book description. It says, I just lost you on video, by the way. You just disappeared. Yes. Says the idea is simple. You don't have to choose between being a pushover and a jerk. Using radical candor, avoiding the perils of obnoxious aggression, manipulative insincerity, and ruinous empathy can be kind and clear, and you can be kind and clear at the same time. Radical candor is about caring personally and challenging directly. It's about soliciting criticism to improve your leadership and providing guidance to help others grow. Blah blah blah. Right. So, radical candor, to Kim Scott, the author, is caring personally and challenging directly. We'll get to that in a second. You don't need to comment on it, but that's basically the gist of the whole entire book. Everything is based around the idea of radical candor equals caring personally plus challenging directly. It's like when grit was passion plus perseverance equals grit, right? Like caring personally plus challenging directly equals radical candor to the author Kim Scott, right? So here's the reflection, right? I did not want to read this book. You and I have made fun of this book for a million times. It's like a running joke. The idea of radical candor, right? And whenever we said it, it was always like in jest around, well, I guess if you just use like radical candor or like radical transparency, was something that you and I had heard in the book Principles by Ray Dalio, which is what the fundamentals of we talked about this in the Everyone culture just a little bit ago, which is one of the Bridgewater Capital, Ray Dalio's company, is one of the deliberately developmental organizations they focus on in that. And then we obviously read the book Principles, which is Ray Dalio's biography. And the entire culture of Bridgewater Capital, i.e. Ray Dalio's firm, is based on the idea of radical transparency. So they record and track and monitor everything. Everything is data that's collected on your performance, and then you are encouraged to be evaluated at all times by your peers and by your subordinates, superiors, anybody in the organization. They're supposed to be able to, in real time, be able to pull up like a baseball card statistic of your stats, basically of how you're performing and the data that's being captured on who you are, right? And then people can come up to you and say, well, you know what, you sucked today. You know what, he likes to think of things as the humans as like a machine, and we can improve the machine, right? Like this is Ray Dalio, this is Bridgewater Capital. This is why I said they may be a DDO, but like I want nothing to do with that. Like that is just not my vibe and not anything that I do not want somebody to come up to me and just say in the middle of the day, you know what, hey Chris, you suck. Like, and here's why. Like I watched your presentation you gave, and here's 5 pieces of, I'm just giving you radical transparency. I'm just being radically transparent with you. Like, just wanted to make sure that I rated you and told you that meeting was a piece of shit, and you're a joke right now, and you got to do better. Like I'm gonna go rate you on this, and I'm gonna be like, fuck you. Like, you know what? Hey, I had a bad day, or I don't really give a shit about what we're talking about. How about that? Like, like whatever. It doesn't even matter. Like, I don't want anything to do with that culture personally. That does not mean that it is not a DDO, and that does not mean that it's not, an organization that aligns around values and a mission and purpose. It does. So, like, I think they do a great job for what they are, but that's why you join the right culture. That's why you got to be a part of the right culture that's right for you. So when I think of radical candor, you and I think, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when I think of radical candor, I always thought of like the ideas of like radical transparency, which is like literally being able to say whatever you want to say to somebody just because it needs to be said. And regardless of whether or not you think it hurts their feelings or doesn't, or helps or doesn't, like just being radically transparent about your who you are and how you want to show up. Like, isn't that what your general idea was of radical candor, transparency, whatever, all that stuff?
I think it's been a while. I think I've been jaded by the the concept of radical candor because over the years we talked about like being yourself, and a lot of times like I keep saying to you, whatever works for me, it works for me.
Right.
It probably most likely will not work for you. So if I tell you, Chris, this is the way you do it, I'm radically candor with you. Say, hey, you gotta do A, B, C, and D because that works. That's just the key to my house. And
Right.
to me, I've got to the point where I'm completely ignoring everything else that is in the world. It used to make me really pissed off when people talk about radical candor and talking about, hey, you gotta say, you know, the like you said, just like be very, very
Blunt
blunt,
and
right?
just so she calls that obnoxious aggression, or she calls these the other things: manipulative insincerity or ruinous empathy, right? Where it's like you're just being saying things just to be obnoxiously aggressive, like, hey, true, you know what, like, you're I'm really sick and tired of when I don't even know what to criticize you on, but I'm trying to even think of, you know
Criticize away.
I don't even know. I don't have anything to criticize you on. I'm trying to think of one of my coworkers or something like that. I won't name names, but it's like every fucking time you tell me you're gonna do something, you don't fucking do it. And like, that is, I'm gonna tell you this, like, you're bad at your job. I don't think you care about it. I don't think you don't execute on what you need to do. Like, so I'm gonna be radically transparent with you to say you are shit at your job, and I really don't appreciate working with you, and I think you can do better, or you must do better, or you can get the hell out of here, right? Like, this is what I want to say to somebody, but that would be obnoxiously aggressive, like, you know what I mean? And or you know it doesn't matter. It's just obnoxious, like, to think that I have the right to go tell somebody else, like, like, what they're doing. They're trying their best. Everybody's trying their best. This is why I hate this shit. Like,
But
the Ray Dalio
I
kind of
mean,
stuff.
even in the book itself, it's contradicting itself. You say, hey,
I'll get there. I got to give you my reflection. So I was just asking you. I was just
oh,
making
okay.
sure that your general sentiment around radical candor, of what you went into this whole entire thing, with the idea of it, right? Similar to grit, right? So we had our own ideas of grit, radical candor. That was what I was confirming. Okay, so moving forward, so we have this initial idea of radical candor equals radical transparency, similar kind of, obnoxious aggression, like just telling people how you feel and what you think whenever you want to, and with no regard to outcomes that come out of that. And secondly, when I hear the word radical transparency or radical anything, extreme ownership, like that one book that we read with Jocko Willink, or what's another one I put in here? What was the other one? Yeah, like, whatever. Anything with the title extreme in it, or radical, or whatever, like, I tend to automatically just go, nope, it's not for me, because we worship at the Church of Balance, right? Like, this is not an extreme culture. Like, we are trying to be the best we can be and do a little bit of all the things we like to do. I do not want to be radical or extreme in any way, shape, or form. When I hear the word radical, I think extreme. Am I wrong on that? Like, is that
Yes,
what you
yes,
kind of think? Okay. All
yep,
right. So
yep.
all these factors go into play. You and I have been using this radical candor idea as, like, almost like a mocking sounding board of, like, everything that we don't want to be, right? And the club any culture, right? So and that was the idea that I went into this book with. Before I read this, you and I had been having a conversation like a couple nights before, and we were mocking radical candor again and radical transparency, and we were saying, like, God, that's, hey, radical candor, it's okay, let's just, whatever we were shooting the shit about during our one of our podcasts. And a thought occurred to me, and I was like, you know what, we make fun of radical candor all the time. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I should probably read this book, just to make sure that I understand exactly what she means by radical candor, right? And just to make sure that I'm aligned, as we're making fun of something, because I know what radical transparency means, and I feel comfortable with making fun of Ray Dalio and telling people why that isn't what I wanted to do. But I did not, to be fair, understand what Kim Scott's vision of radical candor was. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to read this book. Color me surprised after I finish this book. But like, I kind of actually agree with what she says is radical candor. Now, here's why. To her, radical candor is two parts. It is caring personally and challenging directly. So let's take these two things separately. From the caring personally side of everything, clubbing is all about meaningful relationships, right? It's all about understanding, who somebody is, what they care about, and what they don't care about, and then being able to communicate with them based off of that lens in mind. So understanding the unique true who he is and being able to, care personally, right? Like I care personally about True in this culture, and anybody we bring into the Club Indie culture in the future, like I will care personally about them. All of our Club Indie Light members, I care personally about them deeply. I understand their lives. I understand what's going on. I understand what they value. I understand what's important to them, right? I really do care about them. And anybody that we've ever brought into this culture, like whether it be, Zach and Amber or Amanda or Snow or Blake or, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I care personally about those people. And I don't think that'll ever change, right? Because we spent a lot of time getting to know them on purpose, by design, and I care about them, and I care about their life, and I care about what matters to them, and them having a fulfilling life. So I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense. Check, right? Like if that's part one of radical candor, all right, I agree with that. Part two of it is challenging directly. Well, that is a literal core value of Clubany and myself. Is challenge the world around you, challenge yourself, question the world, and be direct about it. Don't be afraid about challenging the world around you. So like the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I mean, check and check. I guess, yeah, I 100% agree with the words radical candor, the idea behind radical candor. After I listened to this book, I listened to her message, and I understood what she was trying to say about radical candor. I think one of the biggest things that was throwing me off the entire time was the word radical in the title. And she actually addressed that in the book itself. And I was like, oh, thank God, because now I understand. She was saying radical. The reason why she purposely put this in there to say the words radical in front of candor, because she was saying a new way to approach how do you communicate to somebody, not radical as in extreme. Like she was meaning radical as in novel and new, like just a new way to try to communicate with somebody versus the idea of radical, which is right in the title of extreme, right? So I hear the word radical, I hear extreme, right? She says the word radical, she means new. And she actually tossed back and forth whether or not to ever, because she knew that was going to like make this seem extreme, but she was like, that wasn't what I meant to say at all. Like she was like, I'm being crystal clear about this because a lot of people have that misconception about what I mean by the words radical. So here's the lesson of the day for me, and the reflection for the day is, ironically, I 100% agree with what radical candor is per Kim Scott, like, and her definition of it and how she wants to bring radical candor into the world and what it actually means behind it, right? We are actually in pretty much pure alignment on that. And as a matter of fact, I think Kim Scott's pretty awesome person, and I'm I'd be happy to have her, and I think she'd be a great Clubity member or something along those lines. Ray Dalio, not so much. Radical transparency is so different than radical candor. But here's the thing: is I literally judged a book by the cover, right? Like that is the reflection titles. Don't judge a book by its cover. I literally saw the words radical candor and saw what it meant to her, and you and I both did this. I mean, I don't care if this is your reflection or not, but you and I both have said, immediately like what our thoughts on radical candor were, is and was, and how it doesn't align to who we say that we want to be in Clubany. And the ironic truth is it couldn't be more of the opposite. It's exactly what we want to do here. It's just we hate the words that she labeled it as, right? On the cover of the book, but we didn't dive any deeper. So I'm glad that I read the book. I'm glad that I understand this a little bit better, and it was a good lesson for me of like, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Like dig a little deeper and see if there is a connection point between, what somebody else is trying to say and go a little deeper. So I'll pause there. Love to get your thoughts.
Well, I guess from that perspective, I have mixed feelings about the reflection in a way, because for me, it's like, let's say I look at you and I look sad, right? What do you say when I look sad?
You look sad.
What's wrong, right? Something's
Right,
wrong, right?
Yeah.
So you're judging me by what I show you.
Sure.
Right. So to me, it is only like fitting when it benefits you. So it's more like it's not a standardized kind of thing. When you use the word radical candor, right? Yes, I agree with you that she uses the word radical candor and then redefine what it is.
Yeah.
I agree with her definition. I just don't agree with the words she chose
I
to
agree.
represent that. And to me, I would judge this fucking book by its cover because I mean the word radical candor is not to say, well, it's not what you think.
Right.
Why you use it?
That's exactly how she starts the book. It's like it's not what you think. What is the definition of radical?
Radical to me is like the extremity of something. I mean, I don't know if my English is like far from from the average American, but radical means it's like really not not normal.
Especially of change or action relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, far-reaching or thorough, forming an inherent fundamental part of nature or something.
It's revolutionary, progressive, reforming. You know, it's a bunch of what means to be in the extremities of something.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
out of the norm. Out
I
of the
agree.
norm. You are on. If you are on a bell curve, you either on the left side or the right side of that 5%, right?
Right.
So it's not in the norm. It's not in the normal distribution curve. That's what radical means to me. You are on the frontier
Right.
of society, of the norm. That's what it means.
Radical does not mean new or novel.
It does not, right? It does
No,
not
I mean
mean
it does not. It doesn't. It doesn't. Like
and,
that.
and,
No, this is be impeccable with your words, right? Like this is.
It is.
Right.
You need to be impeccable with you because you
Right.
just take a term out of nowhere and then you refining it and you expect me not to judge the book by its cover. I mean, if I'm angry with you, say no, I'm not angry. Then why am I showing it? What's the point of me showing you my angry, my disappointment? What's the point of doing that, right? I mean, you and I, and for millions and billions of people, we have been inheriting this gene where we can really put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. We can pick up the nuances of somebody's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, this is what we call EQ, right?
Right.
This is what, hey, Chris, yeah, you're excited. Chris, you're not. You don't like what I'm saying or whatever. There is a certain micro expressions I can see, I can pick up without even conscious of it.
Right.
I can pick it up because I say, well, Chris is mad. Chris is happy. Chris is whatever. I can pick it up by just talking to you. I can probably just even not talking to you, just look at your face, right? The expression in your face will tells me this is what you want to broadcast. You telling people.
Yeah, I think you're thinking it's a really good point.
So when you want to create a book cover, it's like, what do I want people to know about this book? Versus, I'm gonna cover it in completely, no color, white color, straight color.
Do you think she did this on purpose though? Do you think this is like a clever trick to get people to like to think of something as extreme and go into it thinking one thing and then come out of it thinking another thing? Do you think it's like
a possibility? It's more like you say, it's more like a
want to be provocative, right?
Yeah, more like a coy to get people to like get them emotionally evoked to pick up the book and they, oh, okay, I agree. But the thing is, I'm still mad because the thing is, what you say doesn't align. I may agree with the body.
I mean, you're right.
The concept of what you're saying, but you still picking this radical. I mean, it's still a mismatch. And for me, it's like I just don't want.
But sometimes it is a mismatch. Like you've said yourself all the time of like I know who True is, right? Like, and you say a lot of people that meet you don't get to know who that is because you don't let them know who that is. So they might be judging the book of True by the cover that they see and they don't dig deeper behind it, right? Like it may be a mismatch, like, as to this is who I see, but this is not who you see that I in general. So I mean, I think this is about mismatch. Really. Like this is exactly what it is.
Let me. The thing is, for me, let me explain what I mean by that, because for me is I am broadcasting my character truthfully, authentically. I'm not coying somebody with saying, hey, I am this leader, I'm this boss, I'm this whatever. I'm not exuding any energy that is mismatching. And so if I'm exuding this energy of me being who I am, and you misjudge me, there's nothing I can do, because I'm not giving you one and then showing you another. I'm just showing you what I am, but you can't understand and perceive what I am. That's on you.
Right.
On this case, you are showing one thing and then you have something else behind it. And to me, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The difference is that you are trying to show one face of a card, and then on the flip side, it's completely different. To me, so like I say, this book is more like it's more like a stunt to get people to pay attention to the book and maybe
kind
pick
of
it up
is.
and
It
and and
kind of is. It worked. I mean, it works. She's famous, for the idea of radical candor, and I know for a fact that if you tell anybody radical candor, it's like the word grit. Like you ask anybody what the word grit means to them. I've done this with at least a dozen people where I'm like, hey, what do you think the word grit means to you? And they're
grits
like,
mean to be kind and to be submissive, to be a peaceful
grit,
monk. That's what
grit.
grits means. I just really find the fucking word.
I mean, right,
Does it make
right.
sense to you?
No, that's funny. That's
Right?
hilarious.
Does it make
Yeah,
sense? I just really define the fucking word. I can define
yeah.
whatever I want. But
You're
the thing
right.
is,
Like,
yeah, okay, be kind. Okay, I agree with that. Oh, okay, great. Be kind. It's like I can't take it. It doesn't align with what you're saying. It
that,
cannot completely say, hey, yeah, I decided to redefine the word. Right now to
right.
me, grits mean, you be this gentle monk that goes to the mountain and go
Right.
you know pray all day long,
Well, I
whatever.
mean, that's the thing is like when we read the book Grit, like her idea of grit is the combination of passion plus perseverance, right? And that's no different than saying us
But
saying
passion
do what you love
passion
and do it
passion
and endure.
begets perseverance. It's like you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
need you don't need perseverance, so there's no
Well,
need. The
no,
thing is,
I get it. I get
if
it. But
you are a mathematician, right, you got to simplify the thing is grit equal to passion plus perseverance. But passion is going to get you perseverance, so you got to cross that perseverance. So grit equal passion. Think, well,
so
does it
so
align?
no, it doesn't. Like this is the point. It's like I think people hear the word grit immediately and they go, "Oh, this is about fighting hard and enduring and just and gritting through it and like digging deep and
Grit to me is biting
powering
your
through it,
teeth,
running up
right,
the
and
hill."
and and
Uh,
resist and
right.
endure the stupid shit that people pile on you.
That's what people think of when they think of the word grit. I know it for a fact. We all know it for a fact. Then you go and read her book
But
and you're
there's
like,
no
"Oh
point.
yeah,
There's
I
no
agree."
point in us defining a term, because you and I saying something. Hey, you and I say, hey, Chris, you and I, you speak English.
Mhm.
I have to speak English for you to understand. You can speak English and I'm going to speak Chinese. How can we communicate? So you have to agree on definition of word for us to communicate. So you
I
can't just say,
agree. Yeah.
oh, grits means this to me and grits means that to the other person. It doesn't work that way.
I had this argument with on one of our Why Are You Yelling podcasts with my buddies James and James about the word addiction. You and I
Uh,
have been talking about this for many times. We do not have a word in the English dictionary for positive addiction. Like, it's like fragile versus anti-fragile, right? The book
mm-hmm.
Anti-Fragile. There is no word for anti-fragile. So Nassim
and,
Taleb
and
came up
and
with the
that's
word
fine,
anti-fragile and then
that's
explained what
fine.
that
You are
means.
creating a new word and you give a
Right.
definition. This one is you redefining the word that people have been used to for eons. And
Right.
to me, what's the
Well, this is
benefit
what
of
this is what the argument with my buddy who works in the mental health world. He's a nurse practitioner that works in like the psych ward kind of places, and I was like, our theory. I mean, this is our shared theory. I would think at this point in time is
mm,
there. We're all addicted to something. It's like, did you choose your addictions? And if so, do those addictions align to who you want to be in life, or do they take you further away from that? Right? There's like conscious addiction versus unconscious addiction, right? Is kind of the choice here. Everybody's addicted to something. Are you choosing and owning your addictions and making it a part of your purpose and your path that is
mm-hmm.
aligning to your values and all that other stuff? Or is it just randomly assigning to you and attaching onto your unconscious and then come what may, right? I guess it could be good, it could be bad, but either way, it's just going to take you on whatever path it's going to take.
Because even the word that we use, like we word the word addiction, right?
Right.
But we're
It's
not
negative.
using the word addiction to say, hey, it's a positive thing. We say positive addiction. We make a modification to it. So it's not using the same word and we defining it without telling people that, hey, we are modifying. So when we talk about addiction, hey, there are good addictions and bad addiction, right?
Right.
We say, hey, this is positive addiction, this is negative addiction, right? So we kind of like add on to it versus to redefine it altogether. And that's the thing, is you can't just take the word and redefine it without some kind of like an indicator to, hey, this is not what you think, it's new, right? I need to give you some kind of a signal. Hey, I am making some adjustment on this word, and I'm putting the word positive in front of it. I'm putting a suffix to it, whatever we can do to signify this is not the same thing as this word over here. And to me, that's what we say. Is we're not going out there and say, hey, we are going to take the word addiction and we're going to redefine it, and who cares what people think, right? We can't do that, right?
This is the argument. This is the argument for my buddy. Yeah, what you're saying is exactly the argument of my friend. He's like, Chris, I understand what you're kind of saying, and he's like, I'm not saying you're wrong. He's like, there's definitely good habits that lead toward good positive things, and you could call it an addiction. You not call it whatever you want to call it. Alex Honnold was addicted to rock climbing. Is that good or bad? I don't know. Like, it could lead to his death someday, but also could lead to really good things. But the point is like, you look at he was like, you cannot use the word, because we all have to agree on, like, be impeccable with your words. We all have to agree of what we're fucking talking about. And this is when he gets so mad at me of like, and he's like, this is what addiction means. It is generally a neuropsychological disorder defining pervasive and intensive urge to engage in maladaptive behaviors, providing immediate sensory rewards despite the harmful consequences, right? The harmful consequences is the key. We're saying positive consequences from your addiction, and you're like, that is not the same word. And
it's not the same word, because you're modifying.
You need a new word. Like, like, you can't use radical plus candor to make your new definition of whatever. You need to say.
To me,
different.
the book has nothing to do with the title.
It doesn't. And this is the fucking problem. It's like, this is why being impeccable with your words matters. Like, it is provocative, it's confusing. It might get people to go open up the book. Yes, if we did a book called Addiction for Good Things, or something like that, like, addiction is good, like, right? Like, if we did a book called Addiction,
but at the end of the day, what's the point of getting people to notice the book if you can't get your point across?
Well, I mean, this is I was just actually ironically writing about this morning about if you want your culture to spread, if you want your ideas to spread, like, it has to get exposure. So people have to have a reason to pick it up.
They have to understand. They have to understand for them to pick it up. If you say, hey, I'm writing the book so I can give people,
or they have to not understand
novel way. I also have a problem with the novel as well, because whatever she said isn't novel. That's what we did before all this bullshit comes about, right? And so it's not new.
That's true. Like, the irony is you and I are having a radically candid conversation right now. You know why? Because I care personally about you, and we're both challenging each other directly with what we're saying, right?
Like I said, I don't disagree with the substance of the body of the book. I have a problem with the alignment of the title, and the whatever is in the body itself, right? Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't think I can accept it. I'm gonna have to say, wait a minute. I'm not reading the book Radical Candor. I'm reading another book. Whatever the book is, like, it's something else.
This is exactly how you feel with reading the book Grit too. You're like, oh, this is not about grit. This is about doing what you love every single day and doing more of it. It's like that's not grit. Like, that's not what grit means to me. Like, that, you know what I mean? Like, that means doing what you love. And I don't know. Is there another word for that? If anything, balance it feels more appropriate. I mean,
to me, it's like more. It's more like trying to like desensitize us with these words, because when we heard of this word like grit, we think of this whatever like imagery you have that comes with it, whether that, hey, you are biting the bullet, or you're eating the frog, or you're eating shit every day, and you endure, and you take the stoic way, blah blah blah, right? That's the image that comes to mind. But a bunch of these people take something that is so vile and completely disgusted and trying to desensitize it and say, hey, it's okay to have grits. It's okay to have radical candor. Fuck that. Fuck that. Like, don't try to desensitize me and
Use a
say, hey,
different word.
it's okay. It's
Right.
okay to have radical candor. It's okay to do grit. It's okay to take shit. Say, hey, Chris, what? You're being microaggressive against me because I'm not white, and I keep like giving bullshit after bullshit. And I say, Chris, be a man. Be a man, Chris. Be a man, right? All I'm doing is I'm desensitizing with that word. Say, hey, be a man. What does that mean? Be a man means take all the shit that I'm giving you. That's all it means to me, right? So you desensitize the word and say, hey, a word is there for a reason. It's for us to identify. For us, meaning everybody to agree on
To communicate.
some definition of what this means. Because if I say, hey, we're talking about radical candor, we're talking about grit, and I say, hey, you talking about grit? I imagine this fucking monk sit in the mountain and do kumbaya, whatever. That's the image I say. So, do you think you and I can communicate if that's is what you think and what I think is something else, or vice versa?
Like,
it doesn't work. So you have to preserve the precisions and accuracy of the meaning of the word, and without desensitizing it and just put it whatever. It's like, hey, it's okay to chop somebody's head off, right? Oh, it's okay because he has a bad day. It's okay for him to like punch you and shoot you in the head. So thing is, before when you shoot somebody in the head, they're gonna put you in jail, and they're probably gonna put you on the electric chair, right? Now they say, well, you have some kind of a psychological disorder. It's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to be in on death row. To me, that's what you're doing. Is you are trying to desensitize the meaning of the word that everybody has come to agree on.
A word. So two things come to mind when you said that. I was thinking the word like terrorism, right? What if you called it like balanced terrorism, and like you wrote a book about it, and you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck does balanced terrorism mean? And you're like,
I mean, it's like thinking you ask a terrorist and say, hey, why are you doing this? Oh, because the guy's paying my family, take care of my family for the whole, for the life. Because if I go and I sacrifice myself and do it, this kamikaze bombers or whatever, I'm doing this for my family. So it's okay. It's okay for you to I to take care of your family to go and kill somebody, right? To go and bomb the World Trade Center just because whoever blah blah asked me to strap on a bomb. When I die, my family's taken care of. I said, "Fuck you die." How do you know?
Yeah, all terrorism really means is caring about the people that you love the most, and taking care of them, and making sure that is your mission.
You're a fucking hero. You're a fucking hero. You are saving your fucking family from properties and blah blah blah. Like that's what you redefining the fucking word.
Right.
And to me, I have a big problem with that. It's a huge problem. Because like I say,
just use a different word. Just use a different word is what it is. I think our consensus after this one is just use a different word, because here's the bottom line for me with this whole entire concept is words matter. Be impeccable with your words. And we all need to be able to communicate across the board. There is something to this mismatching idea of it, because I almost guarantee you that I'm going to throw out a number that I feel like is probably accurate, but I don't know. I mean, I really don't, but I'm just throwing out a number. I bet you 95% of the people that use the word radical candor have never read this book. and they say radical candor to mean more like what Ray Dalio means of radical transparency, of just being like, hey, I'm just going to say how I feel, and you're just going to have to deal with that. That's what I'm going to do. This is radical candor. I'm going to be radically candid to you right now to say, you know what, True? I don't fucking like you. And I think you do a bad, shitty job. And I think you need to get better at this stuff. And I'm doing this because I want to help you. You know what I mean? I think that's what I would, 95% of the people out there, probably even more. I mean,
probably 99%.
Probably 99% of you. If you said the words, what does radical candor mean to you? And give me an example of how that would look in the real world. I guarantee they would probably say something similar to what you and I thought of what this concept was. Now,
that's what I'm saying is we as a society has established the meaning of words so that we can communicate with each other, so we
Right.
understand what it means. When you say, hey, radical candor, you and I have a very, very similar image. What
Yeah,
it means
very
to
vivid.
us.
Yeah, right,
Otherwise,
right.
it's like you talking English and I'm talking German. It doesn't. You can't communicate that way because
Yeah.
you're not receiving what I'm saying, and I'm not receiving what you're saying. So how can we communicate? So it is important to have the definition be agreed upon by a society in order for us to communicate effectively. Otherwise, how do you know, hey, let's go chase this woolly mammoth, right? You go left, I go right. Your left, my left.
Right, right,
Right.
right,
So you
right.
think about it.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
we're gonna get trampled by the fucking woolly mammoth, and we won't be here. Our whole entire species is gonna
Right,
be extinct,
right.
right? If you say,
We have to communicate is the point. Like we have
but
to have a shared
have
form
to
of communication
communicate,
that makes
but
sense that people
communication
understand, you know. Yeah.
cannot become communication without the other person understand what you have just broadcast to them.
Right.
Because I say
But
go left, then you go fucking right.
you're like
How
that
do
means
you?
left to me. What do you mean? That's what left means. And you're like, no, no, that's what right means. And you're like, yeah, that's what I said. Like I'm going left. Like, and you're like, no, no, no. Like, what are you talking? I had this thought this morning. Actually, I was Luca. I was changing him to take him to daycare, and we're changing, getting clothes on, and I put these shoes on. I put his shoes on, and I was like, hey, like here's your shoes, and he was like, no, I don't want to wear those shoes, and I go, okay, well, what do you want to wear? And he goes, I don't know, and he goes to his little shoe rack and he pulls out like these pair of little white Nike sneakers or whatever, and they're like little Velcro things across. I go, do you want to wear those? I was like, do you like those? And he goes, I like these. And I go, okay, do you know what that? Fine, let's sit down and I'll put them on. So I put on his shoes. And 2 seconds later, he looks at me and he's like, I don't want these on. I was like, do you not like those? And he was like, I don't like these, and I was like, okay. So I put back on his other shoes. But the thought occurred to me of like, how does he know what like means? Because he said it. I don't, how does he
He
fucking know
doesn't. He
what like or
doesn't.
doesn't like means? And I'm like, and I'm sitting there going, how did he like understand that or not understand that? Like he just repeats back a word, but he like I was walking out the door. I shit you not. I was walking out the door going like, how did I learn what the word like meant? Because I know what I meant when I said like, do you like these shoes or do you not like these shoes? And and I'm like, how? I don't know. Like, how do I communicate with somebody that is like telling me I want to wear these shoes, but then he's like, I don't want to wear these shoes anymore. I made a mistake, like yeah, he doesn't know what to say to me, and doesn't understand how to communicate with that feeling of I don't like this anymore. I thought I liked this. I wanted these shoes, and then I put them on, and they weren't comfy. And he looked visibly distraught. Like he was like, he took 2 steps, and he almost looked at me like he was gonna cry. Like these are hurting his foot almost or something. And maybe they're too small. I don't know. Like but either way, it just like this is exactly like what you're talking about. Is like
You can't just redefine a word
right.
willy-nilly. Say, like me, don't like.
Right, right. It doesn't work that way. Like it's and a weird twist of fate though. There is something to this mismatching, like idea of promoting a new idea. Like if you want to maybe get an idea out there, creating this mismatch where people have to go research it to figure out what you said, like kind of like what I did, right? Like I mean, I had to go spend money and time with Kim Scott to agree with her and go, oh yeah, that okay, radical candor's not that big of a deal. I mean, that's
No, it's to me, it's a disservice to humanity.
Is it
Because
though? I mean,
yes, it is.
you and I are talking about it right now, and then someday if people watch this thing, like other people are talking about it. She gives conferences.
No, even if you and I are talking about it, all we're doing is we're just spreading this mess around. That's all we're doing.
That's what I'm
I
saying. It's like, but it's
I
being
mean,
spread.
you spill some chocolate or some whatever, and you and I are just smearing it all over the place. That
Right.
I mean, it has no. It doesn't go back and say, okay, well, we're gonna redefine radical candor. It's okay. The only thing we're doing is we desensitize the imagery of, okay, we don't like this word, right? Now say it's
Right.
okay because we basically decrease
Or
aversion
vitriol.
to it,
Right.
a little bit,
Right.
just a little bit. And the more we talk about just a little bit, oh, it's okay to be radical. To me, is because the thing is, if I don't go in and I tell you, hey, this is bullshit, right? You say, well, I understand, I agree with what she said. Okay, radical. So if imagine I agree with you, and they say, well, she said this is radical, and inside of the book, it says about kindness. Talk about directly challenge directly.
Very
Okay,
personally,
we agree with the bullet points, but that doesn't make it okay to use the word to denote what is in the bullet points.
Yeah,
because
you always have to explain it.
If you don't profusely disagree,
right,
people are going to say it's okay. This is how you desensitize somebody. You give it a little bit. Just like you're talking about, like, let's say somebody has
you can't normalize this. What you're saying.
How snake trainers, right? They inject a little bit of poison at a time, a little bit of poison. Eventually, they're immune to it, right? So the thing is, these are poison. When we just give it just a little bit, right? Eventually, oh, radical candor. Okay, not a big deal. Like,
right.
hey, shoot the baby in the head. Oh, it's no big deal.
Right.
Go ahead and eradicate the fucking race. Oh, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So
terrorism. It's not a big
no big deal, right? So that to me, it's like when I disagree, I got to profusely disagree. So people say, well, that guy, he really doesn't like that word. And maybe they stop to think about. But you and I keep saying about the book, Radical Candor, and we agree with this. Then you are giving people permission to say it in the same sentence. Radical candor is about direct, and you just slice something instead of something all together and say this is what it means. You just slice something in the middle. And you take it, hey, this could also mean that. It doesn't work like that, right? You do humanity disservice when you make things that's horrible to be okay.
Would the book grit would the book grit, like if she wrote a book called The Power of Passion and Perseverance, if the book was just called The Power of Passion and Perseverance versus it saying grit, do you think it would have been as widely received?
I think so. I think it's all matters of communicating and broadcasting the intent of what it is that you are giving to the audience, right?
No. I'm saying get rid of this word. Get rid of these 4 big word letters in red.
Okay.
Well, and it just says Angela Duckworth, The Power of Passion and Perseverance.
So I say do this. Do an A/B test. Do the word grit by itself. Right. And do the power, passion, and perseverance by itself, and I guarantee you, the other one will win. Grit has like meaning to me. It's like I have this back. Why would I want to learn about a fucking like eating the frog, right? So the thing
is because people here, they know what the word grit means. Like they don't know what the word the power of passion and perseverance means. I mean, I think they maybe know, but they know what grit means.
But at the same time,
that doesn't mean
but at the same time, the moment I see the word grit, Angela Duckworth, her credibility for me in my eyes just sunk to the bottom. So I would never read her book. So you say, well, yes, you have so many people read it. Well, I'm not everybody. Right. And to me, 99% of people are completely in a daze in a society conditioning that they don't even know. They just eat whatever they get shoved in. And so for me,
she played on our cultural shit, man. She knows
meaning I am not the person is going to take the shit just because you say, well, because humanity has been used, I'm going to exploit this weakness in humanity to get my book out.
That's kind of, I don't know if she did it on purpose, and I don't know if Kim Scott did it on purpose, but there's some kind of subtle genius underlying all this, because they took something that is a part of our culture, because our culture does talk about grit.
I'm not going to disagree whether it's a genius or not, but I would not agree to it. It's not something I would embrace. It could be a genius exploit, yes, because that's human conditioning.
So if we wrote a book called Addiction, the power of doing the power,
but I wouldn't write that
positive habits.
But I wouldn't write that. Right? You know me, I wouldn't write that.
But I'm saying, like, if we wrote a book called Addiction, the power of positive habits, or something like that, like, or the power of doing what you love,
But the thing is, I don't give a
something
shit.
along those lines.
That's the thing is, I don't give a
I'm
shit.
saying people
Only if I give a shit about getting my book out there, right? Then yeah, I'm gonna exploit. But that's the thing is, you have a certain qualities and character traits. You gotta live it. If your character trait is to exploit humanity, then yeah, do that. But to me, most people aren't that. You're talking about the humankind, right? The thing is, the reason why we do this is because society has structure in a way that we have to protect ourselves. There's so many scams out there. The thing, if you think about it, if you and I grow up and decided that we have never been scammed at all, do you think we ever even think about these things? As a human person, you think. Oh, let me ask you this thing: do you think Amelia thinks about, when I grow up, I'm gonna fucking scam people? You think about it. I even a single iota of doubt in your head.
No, I mean,
exactly. That's my point. Is
I
you
don't
as a
think they're doing it
human
on
person?
purpose. I don't think they're doing it on purpose.
You and me as a human person, we are born innocent.
Right.
We're being tainted by society to think of these things. It's because society. The thing is, when we're growing up, it's like I can't tell the difference between black and white. I can't tell anything until people tell me, "Hey, black bad, white good, microaggression bad, blah blah blah." Right? You've been conditioned for these things, but like Lucas, right? He doesn't know the word like means that I want it, right?
Right.
He just say like mean I like it for some other time, right? Until he has enough reinforcement, feedback, for him to say, well, like mean, hey, I want to put it on, right? And so,
Right.
so the definition can eventually goes like, talking about reinforcement learning is, I say something, okay, I receive a feedback to, oh, it's not exactly what it's, so I got to narrow down the definition. Next time I ask my dad, Chris, my dad Chris, about, if I like something, and they say, well, this one you have to do it immediately. Oh, that means like means like, yeah, you want to act on it immediately, versus like, I mean, yeah, I like that shoe for the for sports, or I like this shoe for weddings, or like, so if you think about it, it's a different, but until you get this feedback from the reinforcement learning, you won't really understand what the word like means.
Yeah, I agreed, but you're making me think of Made to Stick, that book, Made to Stick. I think you've read that one, didn't you?
Yep.
Okay, so simplicity, grit, simple and profound. It's one word. It's simple, right? Unexpected. It's countercultural. You're like, we think grit means this, but it doesn't mean that. It actually means
that's not how you use unexpectedness though. Unexpectedness has. So to me, everything.
It's unexpected to me. We're talking about radical candor because it wasn't expected.
Everything has a pros and cons. You cannot be both and tall at the same time. You cannot be both short and tall at the same time, right?
What if tall meant small? True.
Huh?
Exactly. Like it's a.
I'm saying you cannot be both short and tall, because it's the opposite. It's the opposite.
But what if you could?
You cannot be big and you cannot be fat and thin at the same time.
But what if you could?
But you can't.
I know. Obviously, you can't be gritty and also
so the thing is,
not gritty at the same time.
To me, okay, let's take the book, make this stick. Unexpectedness, counterculture, right? We think of this way, but now we think of something. But that does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, how the fuck am I gonna buy from you?
Well, but the thing is, it does make sense. Radical candor means challenging personally and caring personally and challenging directly. That makes sense to me. It
doesn't make sense to me.
Well, we do it. We're doing it right now.
How is that challenging personally?
We're doing it right now. Like, I mean, it makes sense. It's not hard to pick up the concept. It's just
no. No way. The word radical candor means something to me. You cannot tell me that it means to what she said, challenge directly.
Care personally and challenge directly.
It has nothing to do with the word radical candor. Radical means extreme. Candor means like, I'm gonna say what I think, what I mean, blah blah, right?
Right. What does
that has to do with what you just say? It's like, care personally. What the fuck?
The quality of being open and honest in expression, frankness. So
right.
So extremely frank is what radical candor means. That does not mean caring personally and challenging.
That's my point. So you can't. You cannot make me embrace this, and I'm not gonna be okay with you saying it, and make me stay quiet because I'm gonna say, "What the fuck are you saying, Chris? I don't understand you."
I mean, I'm just saying,
I
like,
am not easily peer pressured.
in a weird way, grit and radical candor kind of are sticky, you know, and it's they're simple, they're unexpected, they are concrete.
But to me, both his books, I would never read them because it betrays
it makes
my
us feel
trust.
emotions. Well, it makes us feel emotional.
Yeah, it
We're
makes you feel
yelling about it.
emotional.
You know?
Yes, I don't disagree, but I would not trust it because you are basically saying one thing. You're exploiting my, you know, habits.
Right.
So if you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
doing that to me, why am I taking advice from you? So the thing is, if you write a book to make money, okay, fine, you can do that. But don't tell me to learn from this book and take the advice from you say. 'Cause to me, it's worse than meaningless because I can't trust you now.
I don't disagree.
You have
I
no
mean,
credibility. Like I say, Angela
I'm
Douglas.
with
I
you.
don't know. I don't know who she is. But to me, I would never read or listen to any of her talks because the thing is, I have a first impression, and I judge that book by its cover.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say like no, I would never go listen to her talk, but I'm not going to seek her out and go go listen to her talk or listen to her advice because to me, the thing is, I can go and read all the authors in the world to figure out, okay, this one is no good, this one's good, right? I have to judge a book by its cover so that I only read the one that I think has some benefits to me. Otherwise, how much time do I have in the world to live for me to go through all the authors, all the books, all the shit they say? So I have to take the shortcut of judging a book by its cover. So don't tell me not to judge by a book by cover because you're the fucking author of something, right? Because
fair enough.
I have to solve my own problem. Meaning, like there are millions, even hundreds of millions, even billions of books ever printed, right? For me to go through all that in my whole fucking lifetime, that's all I do. I still wouldn't go through all of them for me to even like figure. Oh, that's what that's meant. So for you as an author, and you want to get your word out, try to be impeccable with your words. I mean, you and I are doing the same thing.
I agree. I agree.
We have to say, well, E equal MC squared, right? Versus like, okay, blah, 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 right? You and I keep saying, hey, company is this, company that way.
Right.
Over the past 2 and 3 years, you and I are talking about different things, trying to redefine what we mean, and for me and for you to learn, and but also for people to say understand what we say when we say what company means to us.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And integrity is one of our core values of company, right? So we want to make sure that we are saying what we mean and doing what we say.
So I have to be profusely disagree so that people don't mistakenly say, okay, radical candor is one of the things that Christian True is okay with. Because I am doing community a disservice when they are saying that. Because like eventually, whether this is stop, terrorism is okay because
we are okay with carrying personally and challenging directly. We are okay with that, but we are not okay. We are not okay with radical candor. Those don't mean the same things. Like
it doesn't mean shit because they can say, hey, like it's True. True is a white dude that's a movie star, right?
Right.
That is far from the definition of what True is, and that's what I say. So I can redefine myself like that. Thing is, you can't say, oh, I feel like a white dude today that is 6'5" and it's an NBA superstar, right? I can't just feel like that. You can't change something. You can't just say, hey, you're a fucking beaver, now you're gonna be an elephant. Or you can be an eagle.
All right. Time out. You gotta go. You gotta go. I gotta cut you off. All right. Okay. So the question we can leave with everybody. That was a fun conversation. I knew that was gonna be a fun one. Have your limited assumptions ever prevented you from finding new meaningful connections in the world? That was what I took away from this one. Question to think about. True can feel however he wants to feel about that. That's fine. But we will see you all tomorrow. And thank you for joining. And have a great night.
Good. See you. Good night.